The Eastern Cape 500, round 2 of the ABSA Off-Road Championship mid-April, will be red hot. Not so much because all the teams have things nicely on track, but also because this route will be totally different to any other they've faced. A substantial part of the event, reduced from 1,000 kilometers to 500 because of recent fuel price hikes, is to be run in the Longmore Forest area in and around Port Elizabeth. This area also hosts the VW Rally, a round of the Sasol South African Rally Championship, and crews with rally experience will have a good idea of exactly how to keep things afloat and what to expect in the sort of terrain the off-road fraternity don't often visit. Although the Longmore Forests only cover an area of 40 square kilometers, the Algoa Motorsport Club, organisers of the event, have managed to find 240 kilometers of roads in this region. Port Elizabeth is South Africa's second oldest city and is a mainstay on the Eastern Cape coastline. Home to more than 2 million people, the Nelson Mandela Bay Metro is also home to several motor manufacturers and is therefore a popular place for motorsport of any kind. The route has fast sections, tight and tricky ones, and also includes some interesting mountainous terrain. Some of the roads are rough, and it's the sort of event in which drivers and navigators will need to drive with their heads and not their feet. On day 1, they make their way out to Grahamstown and then Kucha. And on day 2, it's into the forests, and they start off past St Albans and then Uitenhage. A number of crews competing in the Off-Road Championship have rally experience, which should stand them in very good stead here. One driver who will be relishing this opportunity and making the most of it hails from the Ford Cup. Mark Ferguson and good friend Craig West will be saddling up a big Ford Ranger bearing number SP21 in the production car class. The blue and white oval brand have put together a few potent combinations for 08, and this could be another. The driver from Bedford View is raring to go, and in his daytime job, he's an asset brand financer at Special Steel Importers. However, for him, the passion for anything on wheels, 2 or 4 for that matter, started when he was just knee-high to a grasshopper. In fact, he practically had no chance. His dad was a driver with a very fine pedigree.
The love for motorsport started at a very young age. My dad was very involved in motor racing, and he drove Formula 1 cars and he drove off-road cars. He won the roof, and so from a very young age I was involved in motor racing. All his friends were motor racing guys, and so that's where my love for motorsport started. I started racing off-road bikes probably in my early 20s, and I met a friend of mine, Craig West, and he also started racing off-road bikes, and we raced those bikes for 6 or 7 years. In that time is when I met Neil Woolridge and Kenny Schalthammer, and Kenny and I became very good friends, and he always asked me to leave bikes and to go to cars, which I did. I started off buying a single-seater from Richard Schilling, which I raced for a couple of years, and then Kenny and I bought a race car together, and we built that race car from the ground up. We imported engines and gearboxes, and we had a hell of a lot of fun in that car. And then Kenny went to race with Bix Carolyn, and I went overseas, and I bought a brand new Chenoweth from America, brought it in, and raced that car for 3 or 4 years.
And why the all-enclosed cockpit variety now after all the special class racing?
I always wanted to race production cars. I always felt that there was a much bigger future in production cars, obviously allied to manufacturers, than there was for special vehicles. It's not that easy to get into production vehicles. I was very lucky that Neil and Kenny at that stage were racing for Ford, and I always wanted to race a Ford, but it was very difficult to get into it. And then an opportunity arose where I could buy the ex-factory car of Neil and Kenny, which I did last year, and we started in productions.
After racing motorbikes, drivers seem to read the terrain a lot better.
Yeah, there is a big difference in all three of them. The bikes gives you a good grounding to read the terrain and to learn about racing. The special vehicles is a totally different driving style. It's got miles of horsepower and lots of suspension, so you're not really scared of what's in the road. You can hit whatever is in the road. When it comes to the production vehicles, they haven't got that much suspension, but then again, their handling and the four-wheel drive is exceptional. So it is a totally different driving style. I think it's more exciting in the productions, and I much prefer driving a production vehicle to a special vehicle.
And the Ford camp, why the move?
Being friends with Neil and Kenny for so long and the success they've had in racing, to want to race a Ford was obviously a natural thing for me. And the Ford team is a very, very special team. It's not a very big team. Neil runs the whole team, and obviously with their experience, it was where I wanted to be. And I was very, very fortunate to be able to buy that ex-factory Ford. And they've just helped me and helped me and helped me, and the experience and the enthusiasm in the team is outstanding. And it's just, we're so happy where we are, and that's where we want to stay. Yeah.
For Hannes Grobler and the Midrand-based Nissan team, who now head the championship log after Duncan Foss's winning exploits in the season opener in Darling, the experience factor coupled with their unbelievably dominant record in the off-road championship makes a big difference.
Duncan improved the years, he improved very well, and he's very close, and the cars are all the same, you know, and yes, I think we've got a little bit of an advantage with the Nissans because we're coming a few extra years. But the other guys are getting very close, and yeah, we have to push each other to stay ahead of the other guys.
Nissan have won the national off-road title for the past 7 years, and they've certainly found a system that works.
When we're sitting there in the car, I mean, we're there to win, you know, and yeah, if the one that's got the open road and in the front, the other one's not going to catch him easily.
His trusty navigator, Francois Jordan, called it a day at the end of 2007. It's with a tinge of nostalgia that Hannes talks about him.
Francois just basically retired at the end of last year. He said, yeah, he want to do a few things for himself this year and help a little bit with the organizing of some of the events, especially for Nissan. And I had to get another navigator, and John Moore contacted me and he asked me, or told me that he's available. And he's a nice guy, you know, and I thought, yeah, you know, to bring in a younger guy into the sport and maybe going with me and teach him a bit of what I know, you know, and in the future he can be a good navigator, maybe going to the Dakar, you know. He's very, very, very good. I like sitting with him in the car. He hasn't got the experience that Francois and the other guys have got, so it's going to take a few events to get him right at the top and very sharp, but I'm sure he wants to do it, so and I think that'll make him successful.
Nissan could rest on their laurels, but that's not what team manager Glenn Hall expects or gets.
Yes, I think we basically dominant. What I say to the guys is that they must remember that we're trying, and Glenn and his team trying to get every year better and better, you know, and they're working all the time on the cars, you know, and I think not to take anything from the other manufacturers or the guys that's also building the cars, but I think Glenn and them are spending more time than anybody else in the car, you know, on the car and developing the car and working on to get the engines better, and that's one of the reasons why they're very successful, you know, and we also, you know, we try to test the cars more and get out of every little bit out of the car. So if Toyota and Ford jumps 1 second from last year, they 1 second faster, we must go and be 1 second quicker as well. We need to stay ahead of the other guys, you know, and that's what motorsport is all about.
There are a lot of new and old faces in the SP class. Hannes welcomes that.
I'm very happy that we got Alfie back basically in the production classes now. It's always nice to have a competitive guy there. There's a few new guys that's into SP class. That's unbelievable because it's not so cheap to run an SP class, but it just shows you that the guys think they can run with the top guys and they can handle that cars, and it'll take them a few events to get used to it. But I'm sure at the end a few guys will come to the front and show what they can do. So it's nice to have the new guys there.
The route plan for the Eastern Cape 500 is due to be driven in rally-style conditions. Will that give the man who's been driving Nissan and before that Datsun for more than 25 years an advantage or not?
I've heard that it's going to be in the vicinity of the Longmore Forest, that most of the rallies down there in PE is being held. But it's not to say that we're going to do the rally roads, you know. You've got lots of roads there, and I'm sure they're going to make it quite a bit rougher than the rally roads, but they'll probably include some of the rally roads. And the area will be familiar to mostly the guys that's probably done some rallies there, you know, like Alfie and myself few years ago. I've done a rally there, and then you've got Macron here that's rallying there. That's been rallying there last year. I don't think it'll really suit them. It'll give them a big advantage. It'll have a little bit of an effect, but I think it's going to be competitive there. I think that guys like Macron here is going to pull all the stops out to try and beat us down in PE.
Hannes has been a champion at both forms of the sport, off-roading and rallying. What are the major differences?
Tell you that it's two different types of motorsport, but rallying is like you're driving 12 tens, most of the time, because you can service every 20 kilometers. Off-roads is more, you're driving fast, but you must know what your vehicle can do and what your capabilities is and the vehicle's capabilities. But if you can find a good thing in between rallies and off-roads, and what's mostly important is when you need that to drive, like on a rally 1210s, for certain pieces of the road, or when somebody is close by, or you want to pass somebody, then you have the experience that you've done on the rallies, and that's quite handy in off-roads. You're not driving all the time 1210s in off-roads. You're driving maybe 810s, and when it gets in, you push each other, it's probably 1010s.
Vehicle and asset finance from Absa, going off the beaten track.